relevant, reliable, and researched. This is Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering leading-edge news and information on today's most beneficial products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Welcome back to the program. We're calling it Recovery Radio again on AM 650. In studio from the Orchard Recovery Center, our Executive Director, Lorinda Strang, and Director of Communications and Community Relations, Anne-Marie McCullough. And as promised, we have expanded our studio panel by one. Also joining us in studio for the second half of this edition of the program from the Avalon Recovery Society is Helen Burnham. Hi, Helen.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's nice of you to pop in. Thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about the Avalon Recovery Society. It's been around for a while.
Yes, we'll be coming up to celebrating 25 years. And I met a woman in recovery who had been to Betty Ford, and actually I had read Betty Ford's book, A Glad Awakening. And when I read it, I thought, I'm in recovery myself from alcoholism. I'll be coming up to 27 years of sobriety in January. So when I read her book, I thought, you know, I'm not the president's wife, but I do have a little bit of influence, and I'll take whatever I have to help women find recovery because there's so much stigma around it. And, yeah, I wanted to do anything I could. So I met Virginia. She'd been to Betty Ford, and we got the grandiose idea that we were going to start a Betty Ford North.
Oh, okay.
And we got together a group of people that liked our vision, created a board of directors and got registered and did all the right things. And we thought, meanwhile, maybe we should have like a drop-in center for women to network before and after recovery.
Okay.
And
so Avalon Recovery is all about women.
It's specifically for women.
Okay, just clarifying that.
It's
okay.
so different. Like up until a few years, maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, recovery was based all on men.
Yes.
And, you know, we are very different. We process our alcohol differently, and
Right.
we have different needs. Plus, women need to have a place where they feel safe to address the issues that come up in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And so Avalon is that kind of a place where women meet other women in recovery and feel comfortable facing whatever they have to face.
It's interesting you would mention this because Lorinda and Anne-Marie and I have had this conversation in the past about how women and men are treated differently in addiction issues, particularly with respect to alcoholism. It's much tougher socially for women to be addicts than it is for men. It always has been. Why is that, Helen?
We never figured that out. It's just sort of, you know, a man can, you know, it's sort of to be tough and macho to hold your drink, but for a woman it's very shameful. I don't know why, but the fact is it's there. There's that stigma.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And for a woman to address that, it's really difficult. Like for me, I think I would rather slowly drink myself to death than admit I'm an alcoholic. Now, how sad is that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I felt. And yet, when I did finally
just because you couldn't feel comfortable stepping out into the spotlight, going, "Hello, my name is Helen, and I'm an alcoholic," like you do at all those meetings.
Yeah,
right?
I know. It just seemed like it was the end of the world. Like I was just like I was a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
I was just weak.
Mm-hmm.
So many things that are not really. It's a disease, and we don't often, you know, accept the fact that it is a disease. Even myself, when I first heard that, I thought, oh, that's just an excuse. It's not really a disease.
Right. And people still say that, Lorinda. They still say, "Oh, come on, it's not a disease.
You can control
That's a
your
cop-out.
drinking.
Mm-hmm. That's a cop-out. If you got a little bit of mind control, if you got a little bit of
willpower,
just a little bit of backbone, mm-hmm. you can conquer anything. That's just a cop-out. You hear that from time to time, still, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I would say that nobody would choose to live the life that you're living in at the end of your cycle. Mm-hmm. of addiction. As I just referenced that before, you're not enjoying yourself anymore. You may have started out where you were having some fun with alcohol like other people were, but it got the better of you.
Right.
And we never know when we've crossed that line.
Right.
Mm-hmm. When we've lost the ability to make a choice. And that's so significant.
Is denial among women more sophisticated than with guys? Are women better at hiding it for longer than guys who, again, are sort of expected to be weak in that regard?
My co-founder, Virginia, used to say women are protected by their husbands and their hedges. A lot of women drink at home. They're not out there the same way. I mean, not everybody, but quite a few do. So, yeah.
I think that the men still, what you were just saying, Helen, men, it's still a badge of honor. Some men will actually say I'm an alcoholic and say it with pride, not understanding what the implications are of what they're saying. But a woman is not very likely to be jumping up and yelling that she's an alcoholic.
That's
or to say you were drunk. I mean, I think I had 100 different ways to say that without ever saying that I was drunk.
Yeah, I drank myself to sleep. My daughter would say, "Mom, you passed out."
Right.
Kids, know how to get to the core of things.
Yeah, and so when take us back, go back 27 years. My goodness, when you were at the peak of all of this, when you hit the point where, okay, either this goes away or I'm not going to make it. How did your kids deal with you? Because I was talking about that with Lorinda earlier, because she went through it too with children, and all of that pent-up anger and such. Were your kids mad at you too?
Not at that point, because we were all indulging in our own way of escaping, and a lot of my kids were using alcohol at that time.
Okay.
And one of my sons, actually what got me into recovery was one of my sons had just had his 25th birthday, and he had a terrible accident and died from alcohol and drug use, and that blew our family apart. And actually, I thought I need to get help for my family,
right,
because we were not coping. And then we're 27 years ago. There was not the same awareness of having grief counseling or anything like that. We were just struggling. So all we needed to do...
And there certainly wasn't the infrastructure of psychologists and other people available to you even to call or go see.
Exactly. So I did find a psychologist that would help our family. And I thought, when I went, I told her all the things that were wrong with our family. And at the bottom of the list was that, I probably drink too much, but that's not a real issue. Of course, that's the core issue.
Right.
And she kindly introduced me to someone in recovery and told me I had a choice. I could either choose recovery or look at my alcohol use to help my family, or I could choose not to. She gave me that freedom, and it was just so good, because I think if she'd told me, you need to look at your drinking, I would have just said, no way, it's not the problem.
So denial is still a big issue, isn't it? So
huge.
Talk to us a little bit about the Avalon recovery. You've got 3 drop-in centers, one in Vancouver, one in West Van, and one in White Rock.
Right.
Now, these are just available facilities available for women who just feel the need to go somewhere where they can relax.
Or they feel safe.
Yes.
It's non-threatening. It's welcoming. We have a coordinator at every center, and we have other volunteers there. So if a woman walks in just full of fear, right away there's nice, comfy sofas. We have a little kitchen. We have coffee, tea, and right away she's met by other women in recovery, so she gets that first ray of hope that it's not the end of the world if she admits she's an alcoholic.
Lorinda's nodding very, very sagely here, because isn't that a big part of the problem? When you do get so strung out that you're really at the end of your tether and you're really messed up, you actually do have that part of what gets you there is, I'm the only person in the world that this is happening to. It's just all about me, and no one else could ever begin to understand how messed up I am, and that's pretty common, isn't it?
It's very common. For myself, just hearing the history there a little bit, my grandmother got sober in 1947, so for me, I was very fortunate that she in my family had already sort of broken that trail of it's okay to admit that you're an alcoholic, and my sister before me. So but I was envisioning myself walking into the Avalon Women's Center, and how I felt, and the people that I've brought there myself, and a feeling of warmth and comfort and safety is how you feel, and that you're not alone.
But I guess in this is maybe, I don't know if it's a guy thing or not, but you know what would be important to me, Helen, would be an instant feeling of non-judgmentalness, if there is such a word.
Yeah.
Because that would be hard. Oh, here comes another drunk. Oh, geez. Just because you walked in the door. You know, and even if it's true, you don't necessarily want to feel that. You want to sort of feel that, well, here's another person that looks like they could have a cup of coffee with us today. And that's about as serious as that gets. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of the way you try to approach it?
Yes, I think it's like the acceptance is really important, and the love, and the ray of hope you get because you see other women there, that they're living a life and they're happy. Mm-hmm. Like when I first thought I couldn't have another drink, I just thought it was the end of the world. I couldn't imagine living without alcohol.
Right.
And now I can't imagine not living with recovery because it's ever so much better. Like it's just, I thought when I stopped drinking it was the end of my life, and it was actually the beginning of the best part of my life.
Well, I want you to hold that thought because and all three of the three of you just yes, they're all three of them. And I wanted to expand on that. I want to know, well, where's the fun if you stop drinking, right? We'll take a quick break. This is Recovery Radio on AM 650, and we'll be right back.
There's still more ahead with Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.